Alright guys, it's Chatterbox Reviews, coming at you guys with my review for the series premiere of Narcos Mexico on Netflix. Alright, so we are back here with Narcos Season 4, or Narcos Mexico. It seems as though Netflix is kind of advertising this one as kind of a companion series. So Narcos Season 1 to 3, right, about Pablo Escobar and the Cali Cartel, were more, based in Colombia. So now they're kind of switching gears, and it's taking place in Mexico. And so for this, they're kind of advertising it as a new series, right? Because on Netflix, it even says Narcos Mexico Season 1. And so it's kind of a companion series. So a lot of people out there calling it Narcos Mexico, but I think it's kind of interchangeable with Season 4 as well. So anyways, a whole new story, a whole new world starting, with this new series here. And I will say, I really love Season 1. Season 2 was also very great, but Season 3 was a pretty big step down in my eyes. I did eventually finish it off, but it took me a while. So it really, Pedro Pascal was awesome in it. I think he was really great, but just the overall story did not seem as, appealing as Season 1 and 2. I think, it just was a little bit of a step down for me personally. I know a lot of people still enjoyed it, and I'm not saying I didn't enjoy it, but I think it was still, the quality was there, everything like that. But I just didn't enjoy it as much as Season 1 and 2. But I think this season, after watching this premiere for Narcos Mexico, or I guess this show in general, I'm really impressed. I'm really, really impressed, and I think they are right back where they started with Season 1. I think this story is just as compelling as that one, but for different reasons too, right? Not exactly the same type of story, the same type of format they're following, but I think it's very effective. So Season 3, a little bit of a letdown for me. I know some people do feel the same way, but of course, people also do really enjoy that season. So, let me know what you thought of Season 3. And also, I'd love to hear your thoughts on the premiere for Narcos Mexico. And if you've already seen the whole season, like some people probably already have, it's been out for a day. So some people already have. So let me know what you think of Narcos Mexico Season 1 here. And let me know what you think of the premiere. So, anyways, if you enjoy the review here, please consider leaving a like and subscribing to the channel. Really would appreciate it. So, anyways, I'll just go over a little, really quick recap here of the episode. No really, maybe a little bit of spoilers, but nothing that'll ruin the enjoyment of the season for you. If you haven't seen the premiere yet, maybe I'll talk about some things, but nothing really huge, right? Nothing that'll ruin the story. So, and then of course I'll share some of my thoughts about it and kind of give my thoughts on what we might see in the rest of the season, as well. And then I probably will be back to kind of do a recap of the season and maybe a review of the season. So stay tuned for that if you're interested in that. So this one will just be talking about the premiere, of course. So, the beginning of the episode here, the beginning of the season even, foreshadowing the ending, right? Like, we pretty much see the ending of the story, and we hear in that overlay with the narration, that is the end of the story. So, I really like the way they did that with the foreshadowing. Of course, this is based on a true story, and if you do just a little bit of research, I'm not going to say it here because I don't want to ruin it for some people, but if you do some research, you know what the ending is going to be. And even, even the narration kind of spoiled it there too. It said, this doesn't have a happy ending or something like that, or it doesn't really have an ending at all, this story. And so I think, just from that, we kind of know what may actually happen in the end of the story and the end of the season. And so anyway, so if you made it to the end, of course, you would know. But, do a little bit of research and you know what happens, but that's all I'm going to say. But I really did like the foreshadowing there at the beginning, especially because you have a story like this with an ending like it is. You don't really want to set up things and then disappoint viewers at the end when they're like, oh, that happened, right? Like, why did I watch this or whatever, right? And so they kind of give that away, and they make sure that that's prevalent, that you can see that in the first, 2 minutes of this episode, 2 minutes of the season. So really thought that was good. The first half of the episode then is kind of two different situations until they become connected eventually, about halfway through the episode. with, of course, you get Kiki, the DEA agent from America, and then you get, or the United States, and then you get, of course, Gallardo from Mexico, and you kind of follow those two stories parallel to each other, but then they actually become connected later on in the episode, and I thought that was very effective. I felt it was very great. And then, of course, at the end, right, they actually become very connected, and they're, not necessarily they don't meet each other, no, but they're like extremely, close to each other, while both of them don't even know, right? They don't even know who the other is yet. So anyway, so of course, those two stories then play out as Kiki, as a DEA agent in the United States, is eager for kind of a higher placement in the DEA after he's been there for 5 years. And it seems as though he's kind of got, he didn't get the position he applied for, and he thinks, that the guy who got it over him didn't deserve it, and all this stuff, right? And so, it's fairly new at the time, the DEA, but he also wants to get, to get advancements and stuff. And we also see the very beginning of the episode start with him, doing this, kind of, going undercover, I guess, and going into these two dealers there. So that was a really great scene. And so anyways, he seems pretty good at his job, but for some reason he did not get this position. But the only place available for him outside of where he's already working now is Guadalajara in Mexico. So it kind of sets up all this stuff, right? And then a little bit later on in the episode, about halfway through, he decides to take the job and move to Guadalajara with his family. And he has a son, and I think a baby on the way, right? His wife and him. And I'm not sure how old his son was. I'm guessing like about 5 or 6. So he moves down with the family to Guadalajara to take this new job. While meanwhile, we see this whole thing play out with Gallardo, right? So in Sinaloa, I think, Mexico, the army is beginning to burn down all the marijuana crops, as they're trying to put a stop to all this farming and the drug trait, pretty much, that's starting in Mexico at this point. But Miguel Angel Felix Gallardo, that's the long name there, who is an ex-policeman, begins setting things in motion, right, to set up a business in Guadalajara where they will not be bothered by the government, right? And so again, that whole first half for him is setting up him going to Guadalajara, and then of course we see parallel to that is Kiki setting up for him to go to Guadalajara. So I really like the connection there, and of course how it connects at the end. So really great stuff there, things all correlating together. And of course Gallardo, is not high up at all. I mean, he's just kind of a worker, kind of a supplier within this big chain led by this man, and he kind of just suggests the idea, and the boss lets him do it, and he is off to the races with his plan here in Guadalajara. And so then, of course, we see those things come together. So I really love this scene. I love these scenes whenever this happens. But in fact, when Kiki actually gets to Guadalajara, and then and Gallardo gets to Guadalajara, they both are there in the same day. They drive right past each other and even look at each other, give a little glance to each other. Of course, they have no idea who the other is, and they have no idea what those two people are gonna, what the other person is going to impact their lives. How are they going to, impact each other's lives? They don't know that yet, right? And so that was really great to see them drive past each other. And of course, we know that those two are probably going to be quite intertwined in this series as the story goes on. So anyways, really great stuff. So then we see Gallardo's part, was kind of more emphasized at the end here, as he tries to make a deal with the brothers who currently control Guadalajara, the marijuana supply and transport of that in Guadalajara. And of course, they're not willing, to deal with this guy coming, who's pretty much a nobody, right? And in return, the brother starts laughing at him, right? One of the brothers starts laughing at him about this deal he proposes. And so he shoots and kills this brother right there in the hotel lobby, which is, maybe the most, action scene in the episode, or something where, something happens all of a sudden. So that was really great. Refuses offer, so he just shoots him, which is, crazy. Like, this brother is way higher up than he is, by any means, and he just takes it into his own hands and shoots him. So we get the idea, though, that it's all part of his plan. He has kind of this master plan going, and that is just one of the elements of it. So then, of course, he's taken to the commander for punishment by the police for killing this guy, and ends up making a deal with the commander. And so the commander of the police force, or I guess maybe it's the equivalent to kind of like an FBI, I'm guessing, in the United States. But anyways, so the commander, makes a deal with them. And then the older brother comes and he says, oh, this guy just killed my brother, right? What's going on? Why haven't you killed him yet? And then the commander kills the other brother, the older brother. So anyways, within just a couple hours of Gallardo there, they already strike a deal with the commander. Like, the only person who could really do anything against them. They make a deal with them, and they drive out their main competition in these brothers with just like a couple hours of being in Guadalajara. So insane little turn of events here for Gallardo, and he gets extremely kind of lucky, but also is successful because he planned this whole thing out. So really great stuff there. Happened very fast, right? And then at the very end of the episode here, we have Gallardo. He says, what I'm doing here is building an empire, as he looks out then on the empty desert. And that's kind of the last, visual that we get of the episode. So really great way to end off the episode there. I mean, wow, right? Just wow. Really setting up some great things, and then we get a little bit more insight into what Gallardo's overall goals are and objectives going forward in this story. And of course, we know Kiki is going to have a role to play, as he is now the new DEA agent in Guadalajara. Or no, what is it? Guadalajara. That's what it is. Alright, so now to my kind of overall thoughts of the episode, and maybe my thoughts of, what we're going to see going forward and what the season has to offer. So, first of all, love the new intro, still with the old song. I see some people complaining about this, how they should have a new song, new theme, but I actually really enjoy it. I think it's really great. I feel like, you get a new intro, you put some changes to it, but then you have that old song. I just really like it. I think it's maybe the best touch that they could have made with this kind of new companion series they're setting it up as, but they're still going to use that old song that, captures so many of us, and is something that a lot of people will recognize. So I think that was a really great decision on their part, and love the new intro. The intro has always been very interesting in Narcos for season 1, 2, and 3, and so this one definitely not the exception. I think it's really great. So awesome stuff there. One thing I will say, so these are kind of negatives and positives here. So the new narrating voice, I feel like it's trying to be similar to Boyd Holbrook's in season 1 and 2, but it comes up a bit short for me personally. I don't know. I don't mind it. I really like the narration. I think that's an important part of Narcos, and it always has been through the first 3 seasons. I feel like Pedro Pascal's, again, I mean, it's hard to live up to Boyd Holbrook's narration in season 1, mainly, but season 2 as well. Just because it was kind of a new concept that the show was doing, and it worked really well. So Pedro Pascal wasn't as effective last season, and I just feel like this one is not effective really at all. I like the very beginning part, like I said at the top of this review, about how they were saying, that the ending, story doesn't really have an ending and that stuff. But again, I just feel like they're trying to do it just to recapture what they had in season 1, and I don't think it quite works the same without a character like Boyd Holbrook, or at least his voice. And so anyway, so that came up short for me, but again, I get the idea behind it. I love the character of Enrique Camarena, or Kiki, that's kind of his name that's going on right now. Or the name that he will be known by in the story. And so I really enjoy this character, mainly because of Michael Pena. So you could really tell that he's kind of bringing his own feel and his own approach to this character and making it even better. Honestly, and I was kind of going into this, I wasn't sure what approach he would take, and it seems as though he's taking the same approach that he does to every character he plays almost. To me, he's an actor that doesn't have, a lot of depth, like he doesn't, he kind of has the same approach to almost every character he plays, but he does put a little bit of a different spin on certain characters, especially like this one, right? So, definitely you can see that, but again, I think he's bringing that kind of same approach of kind of that, funny guy, kind of nonchalant, and all that stuff, but again, who can say that they didn't write a character specifically like that for Michael Pena, right? And that would have been smart. He's really great at this character, at this type of role, and so obviously they probably would have written it for him. And so just a perfect combination here of the character and then also what Michael Pena is bringing to it. It's just making for a really great and likable character so far. Honestly, I really think this was similar to Boyd Holbrook with Murphy, his character. I think he brought a really great, kind of personal approach to Murphy as the character. And I thought, Murphy was a really great character in season 1 and 2, right? I mean, he was our main character, our main protagonist, trying to stop Pablo Escobar. And I really think this character is comparable to Murphy in season 1 and 2. I think it's really great. And again, I feel like we missed this in season 3. Pedro Pascal, he did a really great job, but I think from season 1 and 2, he was constructed to be a supporting character. He wasn't the main character. And in season 3, they kind of moved him into that spot, and I never really felt like that actually, like he actually was our main character, or that he could lead, that type of story. That's just my opinion. So anyways, I really liked what Michael Pena is bringing to this character, and I think it's really, really awesome stuff here just in this first episode. I mean, we only saw maybe about half an hour of him in this episode, and I really love the character already. I really do. I think it's really great character, and Michael Pena is doing an amazing job. Also, Diego Luna is doing an amazing job as Gallardo there. Miguel Angel Felix Gallardo. Really great job as him too. He's great. So I do also really like this episode. I feel like they did less explaining and more showing than previous seasons, which I thought was great in this episode. I feel like season 3, I mean, that whole first episode was just, explaining, all this stuff about the Cali Cartel. And with this story as well, it kind of gives them that advantage of not as much explaining, with the narration and, pictures and, real footage from what happened and stuff like that. They're literally just showing us the story and telling us this story through the show. So I really like that. I felt like that was a great thing, and this was maybe even better than season 1 and 2 in terms of that explaining that they always did with the real events, because we're kind of seeing the events unfold in the show instead of in the past. So really great job there with kind of that, there's more showing than explaining stuff there. And I really feel like this does feel like Narcos season 1 again. It does. It's refreshing. It's very compelling. Of course, it's not as good, right? You don't have a Pablo Escobar on the other side of things. But you do have a Gallardo, and he is, it looks like he'll be maybe just as ruthless in the end. And this is really great. I really think this is kind of a refreshing new Narcos feel, and it's really great. I really do like it. So, of course, this episode was a very preemptory one, right? Nothing really happens much in this one, not a lot of substance, but it does set up some great things, so I guess that could be a negative, but, it is episode 1 of kind of a new series, right? So, what could you really expect, right? I mean, there's a couple action things in there, right, with him killing the brother there at the very beginning, and a couple other things, right? There's a little bit of action, but, not much, right? This is all ultimately just an episode building up what we're going to see in the story. So, anyways, maybe a negative there if you were looking for that in this first episode. And I really, so this is maybe my biggest positive or biggest takeaway from this is I really like the building up of the cartel and kind of the leader of that cartel or the antagonist this season. All of the 3 seasons, right? The organizations and the people in power already existed, right? But then kind of assumed more power as the season went on and told us that story. But this season, in this story, is showing us the making of that empire and, how that power actually came to be in Miguel Angel Felix Gallardo's hands, right? So I really like the way they're starting off here, the starting point of this story, and where they're kind of going with it, right? Instead of just kind of jumping into this and throwing the DEA agent in, the DEA agent is already in while Gallardo is slowly building up this empire, right? So the empire doesn't already just exist. And I really feel like this is great. Of course, in past Narcos seasons, we have had, of course, a split and learned some story from the antagonist point of view, a lot with Pablo Escobar, right? in the first two seasons, but this one, like, we're really learning the story of how it came to be instead of just kind of being thrown into this situation and something already kind of existing. So really great stuff here, and I think that is going to be very beneficial going forward. So anyways, to wrap things up here, gonna give it a 4.8 out of 5 in terms of a rating. After watching this, I was so happy with Narcos and the way they're going with this, and I think the show is right back where season 1 was. I think it's really that good. I think it's awesome, refreshing, kind of a new, compelling story here this season, with Michael Pena, Diego Luna leading the charge here with the acting. Really great stuff. So anyways, guys, I'll just about do it for my review for Narcos season 4, I guess, or Narcos Mexico premiere, the series premiere, or the season premiere on Netflix. So anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching this review. Thank you so much for the recent support on the channel. I do really appreciate it. We're at 100,000 video views now, so can't thank you guys enough. Really appreciative of that. That's big. So anyways, guys, again, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next review.
Soy el fuego que arde tu piel, soy el agua que mata tu sed, el castillo, la